Hi, I'm Josh Smith, and I researched social structures and their effects on the world. So, for an introduction, my research question was, where do social structures exist and how do they transform and evolve? So I really just kind of wanted a general idea of what social structures were and how they survived throughout time. So in this presentation, I will give you a definition of what social structures are, where they exist, and how they survive. So according to Sally Haslanger, structures broadly understood are complex entities with parts whose behavior is constrained by the relation to other parts. So in other words, they are complex objects that rely on others to survive, so they have to use living organisms such as us or animals. They latch onto them and they change according to how the organism that they're connected to changes. So although they are not physically or biologically alive like we are, they are able to have a psychological constraint over us. So an example of this is if you have just a normal 4-person family. The father, say the father has the job of making the money, the mother is the caretaker, and then the children go to school and such. Each person has a role in the family structure, and so if one of them were not there, then there would be problems. The social structure would have to change. So places where they exist, according to Ferris Jobber, every autumn swarms of dusty gray moths engulf the mountainside birch forests of northern Scandinavia, laying their eggs on twigs so that come springtime, the newly hatched larvae can feast upon budding leaves. So that's just kind of, it gives you an image of the different places that social structures can exist. They exist everywhere, from the tiniest organisms to the largest mammals. All things have social structures. And a lot of them have even more complex social structures than humans have. So here's an idea of really a basic social structure where, the alpha is on top and then you have the lower levels of the different, and then more of a complex social structure. So the function. Social systems are in a constant state of flux with dynamics spanning from minute-by-minute changes to patterns present on the timescale of years. That's according to So they change. Social structures evolve and adapt. Their surroundings decide what will happen to them, which means if they're the living organism that they're attached to, if the organism changes, the social structure has to change with them and adapts with them, so they still have their psychological constraint over their organism. They use others, like I said before. They can't physically or biologically change, but psychologically they push their host to change with the surroundings. And so to conclude, they are complex entities that rely on others to survive. They exist almost everywhere in all different levels of the world. And they're constantly changing in order to survive with their surroundings. Thank you.
What information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
The information that I had was pretty broad. I didn't really need much of a start. I just kind of went into my research with the idea of what social structures did. And so just as I researched, the question kind of became more clear as I went through.
And what advice would you have for other researchers who consider the topic?
My advice would be, when you're researching, you need to there are a lot of different avenues that you can go with the topic, but you really need to pick just a couple of avenues to go with, because you can make a good you can really go anywhere with it. So you really just need to research a couple of specific things.
All right. Thank you, John.